Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Practical Founders Podcast, where every week we hear an amazing story from a serious founder who built a valuable software company and did it without big funding. I'm your host, Greg Head, and this week my guest is Shoanok Mallapurkar. Goes by Sean. He's the CEO and founder with his father of RecruitCRM.io. Recruit CRM is an applicant tracking system, ATS, and a CRM, customer relationship management, a whole system for running a recruiting agency or a staffing business with heavy recruiting anywhere in the world. This is a global business. Their software is already in 12 languages, and their website's in 9 languages. It's an amazing growth story. He lives in Dubai, started a company with his father. They've grown to nearly 10 million ARR without any outside funding. They've done a whole bunch of amazing things in the business that mean this business is going to be a growth engine for a long time. He's got a long-term view, and the company's very profitable. There's some great insights from Sean here on this podcast interview. Hi, Sean. Welcome to the Practical Founders Podcast.
Thanks for having me, Greg. I'm happy to be here.
And here is in Dubai today, right? That's where you live these days.
Exactly. Been here for the last a little over 2 years now.
Well, we hear a lot more about Dubai in the tech world. There's a lot of investment in big tech coming out of there. Is there a startup scene in Dubai? I don't know if you're probably not part of that as a practical founder, but is there a software scene?
Not a large enough software scene to justify the size of the local economy or the city. So there's this, Dubai is a lot more traditional money in that sense.
Yeah.
A lot of real estate, finance, oil, as is obvious. The UAE has something like, I think, 10% of the world's oil or natural gas reserves.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And do you live in one of those tall high rises that, city living?
I used to. So I till about 6 months ago, I lived on, I think, the 38th floor of a 70-story building in front of the Burj Khalifa, which is the tallest building in the world.
Yeah, right.
So when I would look out from the 30th floor, there were still like 100 floors like in front. So that was crazy. Now I live in a house on the golf course, which is very different, a suburban
look at you. Move out to the suburbs. You know? How fun.
Much happier, to be honest.
Where were you before Dubai 2 years ago? A few years
Yes. So for the 5 years before I was in Dubai, I was in Pune in India, which is a city that's about a 2-hour drive from Mumbai in the west coast of India.
Yeah. And there's also a tech center now. There's a lot of tech moving.
That is actually a much bigger tech center, I'd say, than Dubai. So we have a few SaaS unicorns and so on from Pune.
Yeah, great. Well, we'll just jump right in here. You've got another twist on the vertical game with CRM and ERP for the recruitment industry, which is a really curious thing. And your Recruit CRM, put it in the name. It is one of the benefits of vertical. You get to just declare your focus, and now you can't really change it. Let's just start with, what is Recruit CRM and who is it for?
Yes. So Recruit CRM is an ATS and CRM system. That's applicant tracking system and a customer relationship management system built specifically for the staffing and recruitment industry. So all of our customers, or 90% of our customers today, are agencies that place talent at their customers and make a commission by either as a recruitment fee, as an executive search retainer, or as a staffing fee for staffing that talent, where they take a spread on their salary every month. That's a vast majority of our customers. A small percentage of our customers are talent acquisition teams at private equity or venture capital firms recruiting for their portfolio, or hospital chains recruiting across multiple locations where they have a central recruitment team acting like an agency staffing across a chain or of locations. But 90% staffing and recruiting.
So big companies here, Google, Walmart, or whatever, have recruiting teams for certain roles. You're not for that internal tracking. You're for that. We do this as a business, right? And we have projects that come in and jobs and hire, and then we move on to the next, and that's our business. And you just don't manage the the applicant tracking
It's
of a
everything.
job, for
We are
recruiting. Yeah.
so the idea is we are everything possible for a recruitment agency. So let me explain, right?
Yes.
So
Great.
we do everything from helping them build their website, and we have a SaaS product to basically build and manage your website and your careers page that
Mm-hmm.
hooks up to your to Recruit CRM.
Mm-hmm.
We allow you to do business development on LinkedIn. So if you're sourcing clients and leads who'll potentially give you jobs to work on,
Yeah.
you do that
Okay.
on us. You make
Okay.
phone calls using us. We help you buy phone numbers in different territories across the world. Make phone calls from Recruit CRM, record and transcribe those calls so you can KPI your team. Then post jobs on over 2,000 job boards across the world, get applications, manage them, those applications across different hiring stages, create a way for you to put those candidates into presentations to then present to the clients that you already have in your
Uh-huh.
system,
Right. Yeah.
make placements, generate invoices, figure out if you've gotten paid or not, and then also collect timesheets if you're doing contract staffing to figure out how many hours someone worked every week or every month, and then pay them out based on that.
So
So we do
all the way
everything.
from the website to payments on the back end. Is that right? Do
Yeah,
you
yes,
take payment?
we don't actually process payments
Okay.
yet, but
Yet. Of
everything
course.
till calculating how much you need to pay somebody.
Right. Well, and when did you start this company? 2017, 18, something like that?
Yes. So we wrote the first line of code in 2017, and we got to first dollar of revenue in 2018.
So that's, I mean, you go to your website at recruitcrm.io. That feature list is very long, right? It's,
Yes.
and I can imagine and you've created a lot of functionality for the whole solution. Now you could just say, we do everything, right?
Yeah.
And, yeah, you've been checking them off the list all these years. But were these agencies trying to make it work with Salesforce or HubSpot or some kind of homegrown or a previous vertical specialist CRM?
No, there's been a vertical specialist in our industry per se since
Mm-hmm.
about, I think, the late 90s. So
Oh, okay.
we have a larger competitor. It's a company called Bullhorn.
Yeah.
I think the last disclosed numbers, Bullhorn is at, I think, somewhere between 5 or 600 million in annual recurring
Wow.
revenue. Might be a little
Yeah.
bit more.
Yeah.
It's a private equity owned company, so numbers are obviously not
Yeah.
public, but
Yeah.
they make announcements here and there, so you can roughly zero in on what they're at. And so they've been around for a long time. I would say about a third of our revenue, or a little bit more than that, is companies that have canceled the Bullhorn subscription to move to us.
Yeah. Do you view them as the big legacy competitor, and you're
Yes.
just going to keep, taking their business and go around them? I don't know if Bullhorn is as global as your company.
No, they are.
Recruit.
They're very global. So
Okay.
they're obviously a lot more U.S. focused than,
Yeah.
let's say, we would be as a percentage of revenue.
Right.
But they're still by far in every single country you go to. They're probably still the largest, if not like at least the second largest, if not the largest product. And obviously, there's some traditional situations where there's a very large staffing company with thousands of employees that has bought a Salesforce, has 20 Salesforce developers, and has
Yes.
customized the
Built
hell
their
out of that
own. Yeah.
instance.
Yeah.
But for a vast majority of cases, and probably like most of revenue attribution, well, Bullhorn sitting up there.
Okay. And so when you meet somebody in the recruitment and staffing business and they say, what is Recruit CRM? Is it is it like Bullhorn, but how are you different? Is that the conversation? Does everybody know
Yeah.
Bullhorn and you're the
Most
alternative?
most people know Bullhorn, and the pitch is we are Bullhorn that was built far more recently. So the tech simply looks a lot more fresh and better.
Yeah.
And we put our money where our mouth is, meaning with most other vendors, you do a demo and you then sign an annual contract.
Yeah.
With Recruit CRM, you have a free trial. You can test out the free trial. Once the free trial seems good, you can start on a monthly subscription with no annual contract. You can cancel the monthly subscription whenever. We don't lock you in. The moment you buy even 1 or 2 seats with us, which is a few $100s a month
Yeah.
if you just have a couple of people, we will assign a dedicated account manager to you for free, who will then do one-to-one onboarding with you and create like if you're a larger team, it's normally a 2-3 month onboarding plan. When we're putting in resources to make you succeed, and if you succeed, you pay us more money. If you
Yeah.
don't succeed, you cancel. And so, we put our money in
Yeah.
this case, our resources to ensure you're successful.
So
And that's how
very
we've been winning business.
product-led growth
Yes.
with the trial
There.
and
Yeah.
usage and
Yes.
monthly kind of billing or that kind of
Um,
thing?
so at this point, I would say about 60% of our customers, 62% of our customers
Yeah.
pay monthly. 38% pay annual because they choose to, because you get a slightly
Yeah.
lower rate when
Yeah,
you
of
when you
course.
pay annual
Right.
upfront. But we don't push for annual payment. Like,
Ah,
there's
yeah.
no customer success manager has it as like a KPI that says go start like selling annual deals or something. It's not a core KPI.
Yeah, the modern product-led, faster, easier, cheaper, complete solution, more
Yeah.
friendly and modern than the old legacy solution. And I don't know, is the pricing different? Private equity tends to raise prices and put the
Yeah.
screws on their customers and sell a lot of add-ons and so forth.
Uh,
You have simpler pricing?
it is simpler pricing. I wouldn't necessarily say we're like cheaper or like
Ah, there.
significantly
Good for you.
cheaper.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're still a premium product. We are on G2 and on Capterra and every other software review
Ah,
website. We're ranked number one. So
great.
we've never seen a reason to like
Good for you.
underprice, right?
Yeah.
So we are certainly, we're not a more expensive than Bullhorn, but we're certainly not like a. In some cases, we might be 10 or 20% cheaper. In some cases, depending on which country you're buying in and stuff, we might even
Ah,
be 5 or 10% more expensive. So, like,
interesting.
yeah,
Yeah. I get it. And so let's talk
yeah,
about customers, revenue, growth. What
yeah,
can you share about how big
yeah,
Recruit
yeah,
CRM is these days?
yeah. So we're just at about $10 million in annual recurring
Oh,
revenue.
wow.
We're growing. We're not the VC backed hyper growth company, but we've still
Yeah.
been growing over 40% every single year for the
Oh
last
my
3 years,
gosh.
including month to date over the last 12 months. And what is great is we're also a very profitable company. So we're probably, adjusted for founder compensation, probably 37, 38, 40% free cash flow, or 32, 33% net profit margin
Wow.
type company. So it's a rule of 70 or rule of 80 company in that sense. Uh,
Yeah, that's tremendous in a huge
yeah.
market with a big competitor that you're coming after, and kind of everybody knows that. You're not paving the roads to say this is the first one that's ever been built for your
No,
industry. You're the
no.
newer and better one. Yeah.
Exactly. So this is a 2 billion, probably roughly a $2 billion ARR market. Maybe I might
Yeah.
be off by 20%, but
Yeah.
not by much more than that. We probably have sub 1% market share at this point, and I'm sure we will have 5, 8, 10, 12, 15% over the next decade.
Oh, that's
Uh,
awesome. And so you have no outside funding.
no outside funding, no
That's
no venture capital, no debt, no equity, no. In fact, we don't even have any significant shareholding outside of my family, because I started this company with my dad.
right.
So as of this year, we own 97% of the company. 3% is employee stock options, which used to be a little bit more, but
Yeah.
we also do an annual stock buyback program where employees can sell back their equity to the company at 10 times ARR every
Yeah.
year. So it's a
Okay.
very reasonably
Oh,
generous.
that's simple. Way to go. And so
Yeah,
people can cash out a little, exit a
whenever
little
they
bit
need,
or a lot. Yeah.
whenever they need to. So
Oh,
essentially, as of right now, the ESOP pool is a 10 million ARR, 100 million valuation, $3 million in a sense. So if anyone wants because we're so cash flow positive and cash rich, that is $3 million that you can take home, or for the first 15, 20 people that had
yeah.
stock options, or you can let it keep rolling, and it's like
Yeah.
you're letting it compound at 40% a year. So
Yeah. No, that's great. Thanks for sharing that. It's the first time I've heard that. It's usually a challenge for what do you do
yeah,
if you're bootstrapped and you're growing
yeah,
and you have employees that want or have a piece of the company. A lot of people just do a profit sharing just to keep it simple, to distribute some of the profits as cash every year as an incentive. But the stock option thing, when you don't sell and have no intent
yeah,
to sell, just to say 10 times the value, which is reasonable, right, for
yeah.
what you're doing. It's probably low for what you're worth these days,
And
Sean.
they don't need to sell it.
Yeah.
That's the whole point. They can. That's just an option. It's not like a forced. You have to
Oh,
sell it at this price.
yes.
So some people sell some because they want a down payment on a house or something.
Yeah,
Most
good for
most of our
you.
employees are in India. Like the economics work pretty well. And if you don't want to sell, next year you'll have another option to sell again at 40% more because the company's growing at 40% a year.
Yeah, right.
So
Look at that predictable, practical founder growth. And I'm sure we'll go into your journey. Sounds like, I don't know, does it feel like you've climbed half the mountain already and built the product and got your team organized? How many employees now mostly in India,
yeah,
you say?
yeah. So mostly like 90% of the team is in India. We are about 150 FTEs, but then we
Right.
have we run a graduate program. So a bunch of them will convert to full-time employees. So we'll probably be at about 170 to 180 by the end of the year.
And what is a graduate program? Is that an
Yeah.
internship kind of thing? Yeah.
Yeah. So we hire people in their last year of college and give them an internship, basically a part-time internship, during their last 6 to 8 months of college. We assess them, and at the end of that program, we hire probably 40 to 50% of them, and we
And
have
is that with
50
a
such
few
people.
select universities like in Pune?
No, that's across India. So last year
Oh,
we had 90,000 applications for 50 spots.
wow.
Yeah, like, so we do a lot of math. Like it's chaos recruiting. Uh,
Yeah, do you have your own recruiting,
yeah,
opportunity here?
yeah, and
Is
we
that
use
one of
Recruit
your
CRM.
superpowers? You know, the employment, recruiting,
Yeah.
people game?
Yes, because we've been in it for so long, right? So outside of building the product as well, just as a backstory,
Yeah.
I started this company with my dad, and my
Yes.
father has been in recruitment and staffing since I was 5 years old. He used to be the India country manager for a company called Randstad. Randstad is
Mhm.
the world's largest or second largest staffing company. He grew that business in India over the
Wow.
years, and post that, Randstad sold their payroll business, because they had payroll in India back then, to a
Mhm.
company called ADP. And he
Yeah,
went
sure.
on with that acquisition and became ADP India CEO for a couple of years. So there's a
Wow.
lot of deep experience around staffing, recruiting, and payroll, which is
Wow.
basically what we do now.
Wow. Okay, so and let's go there. You started this company with your father, and you work every day
Yeah.
with your father, right?
Yeah,
And
and we live together. We weren't actually supposed to live together because once we moved to Dubai, he wasn't as interested in moving to Dubai, because he had a social circle and so on and so forth. But then he spent 90. He was supposed to come for a couple months just to see if he likes it, or get the minimum tax residency thing triggered.
yes.
And then when he came here, he was like, I love it. I love this. It's perfect. No
Oh,
crime. Everything is it. You can leave your you can forget your cell phone somewhere and go back and it's still there, and like nothing gets
right.
stolen, and that, like, it's super safe. It's been incredible.
So, what is life like in Dubai? You described your father, trying it on and seeing, and you did the
Yeah.
same, so forth. Is it? We imagine people. It's very hot and people in these very tall buildings and so forth. But is it? And it's a very well-to-do, let's say, civilized kind of place with people from all over the world.
Yeah. It's a very there's also extremes of disparity. So for example,
Uh,
the average, I understand the average income to be top 1% in the United States is like something like $400,000 a
that's
year.
right.
In Dubai, that's over $1 million a year, right? So the threshold is higher. But the
Hmm.
average is lower than the US. The per capita
Uh-huh.
income here is $40,000 because there's
Right.
so many migrant workers from my
Yes.
home country in
Wow.
India and in Pakistan and in Sri
Yeah.
Lanka or Bangladesh that come here to
Yes.
build those skyscrapers.
Right. Of course.
And it's a monarchy, so there's certain things around that. But the country is very, very well run. So
Hmm.
every person you talk to who lives here, who has lived here for a couple years, will say it gets better every few months.
Oh my
The
goodness.
roads get better, the facilities get better, services get better, like everything gets better. Like, they're like, hey, we're going to double the population of the city over the next 15 years. So we are now increasing the number of highways that will be ready over the next 15 years as well to accommodate 2x. Like everything is planned and organized, versus
Yes.
in most countries, it's, the people running the show are just worried about the next election cycle, and like,
I've heard that
y-
happens. So
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So
And just like here in the States, the new cities have straight line roads and are generally more well organized than the old cities have legacy code. right? They're the
Yeah.
legacy
Yeah.
providers that you can't put another highway in and so forth
And
here.
refactoring is impossible, right? Because you
Refactoring,
need
unless you build a tunnel, as Elon Musk was
yeah,
talking about.
yeah, yeah.
And tell us about the tax benefits of living in Dubai as a
Of course.
profitable, practical founder.
Of course. So again, these tax benefits only apply if you're not a citizen of the United States or Eritrea, which is another, I think, country in Africa that taxes on citizenship.
Yeah.
As most people probably know, the United States is one of the only countries in the world that taxes you based on your citizenship, which means if you're American and you live in Dubai or
Yeah.
in a zero tax country and you make millions of dollars, you still pay the 37% federal tax.
Yeah.
Now, if you're not American, that is not true. So if you're
Yeah.
Indian, for example, and my highest tax rate in India is 36 or 38%,
Yeah.
if I live in Dubai for more than 6 months of the year, which I do, I live here the whole year, I pay zero tax on my global income. If someone was British or German or Swiss or Portuguese or whatever, Japanese, same for them, or Australian or Canadian. If they live in Dubai, they don't pay they don't pay taxes on their income generated here or paid out here. And
And
so
your business entity, at
is in the
least
United
the main
States.
one,
United States.
oh, is that
It's in
right?
the yeah.
Okay.
But for context, I am not a U.S. citizen, and I am what
Right.
is called a non-resident alien. So I am a
Right.
non-U.S., non-U.S. citizen, non-green card holder who does not live in the U.S. And
Yeah.
so anything I get paid out as a salary, for example, or consulting fee salary, whatever, is not beholden to the IRS because I'm not American. Like I have nothing to do with America. Uh,
But you spent time here. You went to school at Indiana, your undergraduate.
yeah.
Yeah.
I love America for all of those reasons, not the IRS piece, right? Like
Yeah, of course.
so
Look at you.
so America's great, a great place. I went to college in Indiana, or lived in San Francisco, like in the Bay Area, not San Francisco, but
Yeah.
America's amazing. But if you are not a U.S. citizen and you are living, like let's say in Dubai, and you run a practical SaaS company or
Yeah.
any SaaS company or any company, and you could theoretically pay yourself, let's just throw it out there, $10 million a year and not pay income tax, like
Yeah.
0%.
0%. Well,
0%.
that starts to add up as you exit a little every year, as Jason Fried would say,
Yeah,
instead of
or
funding your company and growing
Greg,
faster and selling it. Yeah.
it's not just practical founders. There's no capital gains tax here either. So if you're a VC backed founder, but
Yeah.
you're British and you live here and you sell your company, you're just, like even though capital gains tax is lower, like let's say 25%, 0 versus 25% are still like two different things.
Yeah. Right.
There's a lot of people who do that, who are about to exit or they've already exited, but the payout is over the next 6 months or a
That's
year,
right.
and they basically just move here. So which is
Wow.
why you see thousands of British expats and German expats and so on, like moving
Yes.
here every year.
And why does the UAE want people to live there and not pay taxes?
Because high net worth individuals contribute to the economy in many
There you
other
go.
ways
Okay.
outside
Yeah.
of
Okay.
paying taxes. So,
Yeah.
for example, if you come here, you're going to bank here, which means you're going to deposit millions and millions of dollars in their
Yeah.
local banking system, which
Yeah.
is free capital that they can now use to like lend money out
Yeah.
to build these skyscrapers.
There you go.
You're probably going to buy real estate here, which is probably one of the top 10 or 20 cities in the world in terms of per square foot price, which means there's the real estate developers here are making a lot of money. Every time you buy real estate here, the government makes 4% on the transaction value of the real estate.
All right.
So there's no annual property tax, but there's a purchase tax, right?
Isn't it interesting?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then they make a bunch of money on sales tax because they have 5% VAT. So just think about it, right? 92% of the people who live here are people from outside. So expats represent 92% of the population, right? And these people coming from outside, many of whom make millions of dollars, come here, buy Ferraris, Lamborghinis, houses, and buy services, and they're paying 5% value-added tax, which is a consumption tax.
Yeah, there you go.
And
it's a little different business model, like our practical founder, asking.
And Greg, the UAE budget is in a surplus, unlike the US, which is in a deficit, which means despite not charging income tax, they're actually making more money every year versus what they spend.
And it's amazing in a SaaS company and a country when you have a surplus every year and you have a long-term view, how different things really are. Let's go back to starting this company. Did your dad discover this opportunity because he was in the staffing and recruiting space, or did you
Yeah,
hover around and find it?
yeah. So dad always wanted to build a technology business because he believed that while he understood recruitment and staffing very well, it was a very difficult business to scale.
Uh,
So, so if you're on the perm recruitment side, which is where
yeah.
great professionals get in and they can quickly make a quick buck and build decent businesses because they're good. They
Yeah.
build relationships. They can find a few VPs and CEOs and
Yes.
and and get to the first million or 2 million in revenue with a small team. It's very difficult to scale that business beyond that because
Hmm.
there's no IP, there's no intellectual property. Your business is
Yeah.
basically you and a team of 6 smart people who know how to pick up the phone and build
Right.
relationships. And whenever someone starts building a certain amount of money and they're like, hey, I built $600,000 last year, but I only got paid 250 or 300 with bonus. Maybe I can just do this myself and keep
Right.
90% of the,
Yeah. The business model gets heavy pretty quickly in that
yeah.
agency world. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah. And so the best agents within your agency, in a sense, or
Go
consultants in
out
your
on their own.
agency, just keep
Yeah.
going out on their own as they learn the business.
Yeah.
So it's like really hard to scale it. And
Yeah.
on the staffing side, which can be scaled,
Yeah.
that business is very capital intensive because you're hiring 100 people, you're deploying them as contractors at your
Yeah.
clients.
You're hiring them in the staffing world. Yeah.
Yeah, and you need to pay their salaries, and sometimes you have contracts with the customer where they pay you 60 days after you raise their invoice,
Yeah.
and you need to cover payroll for 2 months. So you need to it's just very cash intensive, and then you have to
Yeah.
factor revenue and so on and so forth. So it's the kind of business where you need a really good CFO and a great credit line and so on.
Yeah.
And so while those were great businesses and we understood them well, we believed we could do better by building technology for these businesses globally.
Yeah.
And that was more scalable. And we did that. And I think we're doing fine at this point.
Great. So, did you sit around the dinner table and say we should start a technology company, and you
Yeah,
do this,
yes.
Dad, and I'll do this,
Yes.
son, kind
So,
of thing?
how we did it, we always wanted to do a company together. I'd
Oh.
actually started a company, which we raised some angel money for when I was 19, while I was in Indiana, sophomore year of college.
Hmm.
It was a it was a consumer to consumer peer to peer commerce company, like a
Yeah.
very collegey idea when you think about
Yeah.
it,
Of
right?
course.
Buy books from each other and like you make a
Hmm.
small transaction fee, and we somehow raised a little bit of money for it. Graduated early, self-sponsored my visa, moved to Mountain View, the Bay Area, to like run it with my two 19-year-old co-founders, or 20-year-old by that point, and it didn't work out. And during that time, I would talk to my dad every week about what else we could do, right? And he said,
Ah.
hey, we can build software for the staffing and recruitment industry, and then you can just come back. And then he had a consulting business that had started working by then, so he
Hmm.
was like, we could use this to hire a couple developers in India
Yeah.
for maybe like
Okay.
$500 a month, or like fresh graduates from tier 2 schools or whatever, and that's what we did. uh,
Right. Well,
the,
that's kind of it's very typical. The collegey ideas, the entrepreneurship classes, they're all about things that college students in the US can see, right?
yeah.
How to find friends or something like
Yeah.
that, or all the
Yeah.
classic ideas. But your father, deep in this industry, could see the industry, could see it
Yeah.
moving, and knew where the point was. And he had the
Yeah.
industry knowledge, and you had the gumption to go start something, and you went and
Build a
did it.
product, right? Build a
Yes.
product, take it to market, and like then iterate.
So how do you divide your responsibilities at the
Yeah.
company? Do you
So
what are your superpowers?
yeah, so I'm people facing. So I basically do sales, or run our sales team, our customer success team, and our product management team.
Mhm.
So that's essentially selling the product, helping customers implement the product, collecting their feedback, and then as a product team deciding what else needs to be built or changed or iterated, and
Right.
then sell more, and that cycle. My dad runs our internal operations, our marketing and media team, and engineering. So
Okay.
engineering reports into my dad. We have a great head of engineering as well, who basically runs the engineering team, and that reports into
Yeah.
my dad. And that really works because back in the day when dad was at Randstad, one of the things they did was manage the tech back office for some of the countries at Randstad where they were building. We had similar sized teams of like
Yeah.
60, 70, 80 people
Yes.
building software for in-house, but like
Mhm.
you still experience managing those teams. So it just made more sense for him to
Yeah.
do that.
Okay. Well, and he owns the marketing, so the website and all of that is
Yes, the
that like
media
the
team.
front end of the product or something like that? Or how come you don't
Uh,
own that one? Yeah. Or
no, we because it would just sometimes we do think about it like, hey,
yeah.
like maybe I should be running that and you should be running this. It's just that when we started out, he got more involved with that because in the beginning I was just doing all of the sales and the customer success and like it was just like there wasn't like it was just too
Right.
much already, and he took that over and like he did a great job with it, and then he
Okay,
hired
great. Yeah.
and he's really really good at hiring and delegating. So now we have 16
Okay.
people on that team. Uh,
Okay.
and so as long as he manages to set KPIs, which he does exceptionally well, much better than I do, those teams perform very, very well.
Awesome. That's great.
I don't know what
So
else to say.
and with 170 employees, you have,
Yeah.
and they're all remote, even in India,
Yeah. Yes.
right?
All remote. Completely
So
remote.
you have a leadership team. So you have
Yes.
functional leaders of sales,
Yes.
marketing,
Yes.
dev, customer
Yes.
success, product
Yes.
management,
Yes.
finance and operations,
Yes.
right?
Yes. We
Recruiting.
have. Uh, y- there's a head of people operations,
Oh, there
and the
we go.
person,
Yeah.
and they run recruitment is one of the functions they run outside of learning and development, and just other org stuff that needs to happen.
And are you, so people oriented in this industry, are you known as a great place to work? Is that how people, your
I
interns find you?
Yeah, I'd say if you go to Glassdoor, obviously you'd have positive reviews, medium reviews, and bad
Yeah.
reviews. But on an average, we score pretty well. I think we're over a 4.0 last time I checked.
Hmm.
And the key thing is, especially even if you talk to ex-employees, is flexibility, right? So for most non-people facing roles, which is 70% of the companies not in
Right.
sales or customer success,
Yeah.
you can essentially work any time of the day, right? There's no start time and end time because
Hmm.
you're in different time zones and
Yeah.
and so on. So you can, as long as you're assigned a bunch of tickets this sprint and you're working a certain amount, you're putting in a certain amount of effort, and you're getting a certain amount of outcome cleared, it doesn't matter when you do it. And so what we do is, and we feel like we've done this very well. We track two KPIs. We track
Hmm.
an input KPI and an output KPI. So an output KPI is the quality of work you've delivered. And we score it based on how important that work is, like how many hours of effort this work should take, so on and so forth. And then we are one of those companies that tracks you. So because we're completely
Yeah.
remote and
Yeah.
we never ever want to go back to the office, uh, everyone tracks, right? So you have a tracker that says I'm working now versus I'm not working, right?
Yeah.
Which is basically tracking the tasks you're doing. It gives you a report on how much time you spent ideating, how much time you actually spent writing code, how much time you spent on documentation, and we review those
Hmm.
charts and so on. And what that allows us to do is, one, it allows us to have a transparent situation where, we know that the people on our team are actually doing work. Because at this scale, one of the major flaws I think companies have when they hire in emerging markets, especially remote talent in emerging markets, is they say, hey, this person is one third the cost of an American, so it's okay as long as they do more than one third the work. No,
Ah,
they should do the same amount of work, right? Like
right.
they need to have the same amount. They need that CSM needs to be managing the same number of millions of dollars of revenue,
Right.
same number of support tickets, same amount of code. Because if you don't hold people to a high standard, there's no point of having a cost advantage. It's just going to all get eroded. And if you hold people to a high standard and they're able to deliver, you're able to then pay them more over time. We have
Right.
had people who have gone up in compensation by 500 to 600% over the last 5 years.
Yeah.
And you're
Right.
able to do that as you go from a little startup with no revenue to 10 million in revenue, right? So you're able to pay, in a sense, Western compensation to your absolute best performers. So you
Great.
have a 25 or 26-year-old in India making $50,000-$60,000 a year.
This podcast is brought to you by my friends at Fraction. Are you stuck at your 7-figure ARR with tech challenges holding you back? Whether it's tech debt, slow feature delivery, or other scaling challenges, you're not alone. Every founder hits this wall. That's where Fraction comes in. Fraction gives you access to senior US-based engineers and CTOs without full-time costs or hiring risks. Fraction founder Praveen Ganta is a practical founder himself who has been on this podcast. He grew his bootstrapped SaaS business, Hidden Levers, with fractional talent and sold it for more than $100 million. Fraction's experts come in to fix problems and do real work, not just give advice. Fraction is flexible and founder-friendly. Get 10 to 30 hours per week from vetted and experienced US-based talent. And you could start with 1 week risk-free trial to test it out. Find your next fractional senior engineer or CTO at fraction.work. Now back to our podcast. So this is a problem with remote employees. I hear this from founders all the time. I don't really know that they're working full-time on my project. It's a black box. Sometimes it's a contractor in an agency somewhere around the world, developers. You don't know how much work they're doing. You're not tracking or whatever. And even if you tracked it, would it be honest? But for you, you're managing this, and everybody could do the tracking, but you're managing this with the quality output. How do you manage the quality? Is this just what their manager judges to be effective?
It again depends on function, right? So with sales and customer success, it's much easier because it's customer facing. You get reviews, and we actually have AI audit the video recordings of every call and put a score on it and average the score out, and you can there are very easy things you can do today. So sales and customer success and any people facing job not very difficult. The largest challenge here, even product management, you can look at the quality of the product requirement documents and stuff that are being produced. With engineering, you're right. It is a little bit harder to judge quality of code, which is why there's more checks and balances. There's people in other engineering teams or squads within the company that would review your code, do an audit, make sure it's good, make sure it's up to standard. If the code you deploy has bugs or is likely to have bugs, or you get flagged by the QA team on it, you get you get a talk around why is your code so choppy all the time, and why are you missing basics around formatting and so on and so forth. But yeah.
And so you would say that your global team, remote, in all these different countries, they feel accountable and responsible. They get it. They know I'm being tracked and I have the output, and that would be awesome for me because I want to grow my opportunity. They're not playing a dishonest game with that generally.
And the ones that do well do really well. So we have our annual performance compensation updates this year, appraisals. We call them appraisals. And we will have people this month who will have their salary go up 40 to 50%. And that's because we have a lot of data, and we're able to say that this person is simply doing an amazing job. And it's not one person. It's there'll probably be a dozen people that are in that range off the 160.
And they're great examples for everybody else. You do the right things and it works out for you.
Yes. And we do other types of compensation too. So while the last couple of years we stopped doing stock options because stock options are basically being bought back every year anyway. So we do what we call retention-based bonuses. So based on your level of performance, at the end of every year, you get a bonus that's up to essentially 120, 130% of your salary that's paid out over another 2 years if you're really good.
Very performance-oriented, yes.
So imagine you are a 23-year-old 2 years out of college or 3 years out of college in India making $25,000 or $30,000 a year. You could get a bonus that's basically saying, hey, for this year's performance, because you're in the top decile within your team and the company, you are getting a bonus worth about $35,000 that'll be paid 50% in 12 months, 50% 12 months after that. And then each year that stacks up so there are people who basically their comp goes up 40, 50% a year, and they make very Western level compensations, right? But we track and we're strict and we're stringent and so on and so forth.
And you're profitable, so this isn't a lavish extravagance. This is a performance culture.
That's
amazing.
But in a Western, let's in the US, you'd pay that, but you'd pay that to everybody. Right? Because you pay. So I'm paying my top decile of execute. People let's say at the software engineer, senior engineer, or level, let's say $50,000 or $60,000 or $70,000. In the US, that's the starting baseline.
That's amazing. And so you're
Yeah.
really focused on the super performers as an
Yeah.
example and a
Yeah.
culture, as
Yeah.
opposed to pay everybody the same. And I can't believe
No.
I didn't. Everybody got, you
No.
can't
Everyone
not
does.
pay somebody their bonus like we see here in the States, and then you
No.
get
No. No.
rid of the 10% like Microsoft's doing.
Everyone is not the same. They don't deserve the same amount of money.
Yeah.
Some people work harder. Some people get more done. And it's a
Yeah.
combination, right? Some people are
Yeah.
smarter. Some
Okay.
people work harder. It's some combination. And if someone is putting in those many points on the board, they need to, like, if you have the LA Lakers, I'm sure all the players on the court don't get paid the same, right? So
Yeah. You think?
yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's right.
that's the game.
All right, let's go back to your business here. What was the first product that you went off
Yeah.
and built, got some engineers, maybe from your dad's consulting company or out of the
Yeah.
funding,
Yeah.
and you
We, we
built it?
got
What
we
did you
got
start with? Yeah.
Yeah, we had 2 developers to start with, which we quickly took to 4 developers. We spent a total of probably like about $60,000 before we
Yeah.
got to our first dollar of revenue, and
There we go. Look
we
at that.
probably burned a total of like $80,000 or $90,000 before we got to break even over a couple of years, and
Yeah.
yeah, and then now we probably make
Yeah.
that every 4 days, 5 days
Yeah,
in
right.
free cash flow, not revenue, like
And so
in
was
free
it
cash flow.
the ATS first or the
ATS, sorry.
CRM first? Okay.
Yeah, to answer
So,
that question, we
yeah.
built it together. So the first release had both the ATS and CRM. So you had
Oh, it was always
companies.
this all-in-one
Yes,
approach.
yes. So it didn't have all of the other. It
Yes.
didn't have an AI resume parser, and like it didn't have an email integration, and it didn't have like a Chrome sourcing
Yes.
extension, and
Yes.
it didn't have all of the other bells and whistles. But at the very core, it was a glorified Excel spreadsheets that had these interconnected entities that were
Yes.
companies, contacts, jobs that they give you, and candidates that you put into those jobs. Like
Right.
that
So
piece
unlike
was there.
Salesforce and HubSpot, accounts, contacts, deals, kind of
Yeah,
that trilogy, you
yeah,
kept going for all
y-
these people who couldn't use Salesforce unless they customized it, as you said,
yes, yes,
with those other entities there. So it
yes,
always was this combined approach, right?
yeah, exactly.
Getting new business, getting new candidates, all in
Yeah,
the same
yeah.
system.
So it was basically Salesforce for people that ran small agencies that didn't have the time, resources, energy, money to customize Salesforce to work for an
Yes.
agency. Think of it as a pre-configured Salesforce, right, for a small
Right.
company.
Very vertical focused. And,
Yeah, yeah,
Salesforce, a huge company with a massive platform and lots of features, can't compete
yeah,
with somebody who says, we just do it for this industry and we do everything
yeah,
for them, speak their language. Did
yeah.
you start with companies in India or the States or?
No, we never had. Even today, we didn't have any. None of our first 20 customers were in India. Today, India represents less than just about 1% of our revenue. So our first customer was this lady who found us in the UK, and she moved to us from
Uh-huh.
Bullhorn. She was a 1-person team, so it was 1 user.
Yeah.
And she just found us because we were offering a free trial for 2 months because like
Yeah.
you didn't even have like the
Mhm.
product wasn't ready, and she tried it out, and then she said, "How do I pay?" And so when she said, "How do I pay?" we
Good for you.
connected Stripe and built like a payment portal so she could swipe. And our first probably 20 customers were in like 12 countries, right?
Yeah.
So it's
Oh,
very
that's
spread out.
interesting.
It's very,
And
very
so
spread
that's
out.
very, let's say, search driven, people, somehow finding you, right?
Very,
In the
very,
beginning.
very SEO. Yeah.
Oh, wow. And so what drives your business today? Very product led. Is it
Search,
content and search and
content and
global?
search.
Right.
Inbound,
So you do
inbound,
global
global.
content and search, right? It's
Yes,
wherever
yes.
you are, South
multiple-
Africa, India, Asia, whatever.
France, Germany. We do content in German, Spanish, Portuguese, French.
And do you have your
Dutch, yeah.
product in
Yes.
multiple
We have a
languages?
product. I think 12 languages. I have to do the count again. But we have people using our product in Japanese. We have people using our product in Finnish. We have people using our
Oh
product in
my
German,
God.
Dutch, French. Yeah.
Wow. Well,
Yeah.
that's the record here on the Practical Founder podcast here. 12 languages. There's some global companies that can sell in English because you're selling to a tech crowd in Germany and everybody speaks English. But recruiting is very local and regional, right? And you can't imagine on both sides there, candidates and and recruiters are operating in English all the time. So that's really amazing. So
Yep.
you can go to your website and see it in Finnish and Japanese
Yeah,
and all of that.
yeah. I believe if you go inside the app, you can see it in, I just checked, 11 languages.
There we go.
On our
Yeah.
website, you can see it in English, Dutch, French, Portuguese, Spanish, German, Japanese, Italian, Chinese. I think the website isn't, and then
Yeah.
we have Arabic and Finnish as well, but it's not, our website isn't in Arabic or Finnish, but you can use the app in Arabic or Finnish,
Yeah.
because those are
Wow.
two different things. Yeah.
So have you noticed any, I don't know, usually that, wide approach, right? There's something takes off. The Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule, you start out wide and then it
So,
happens.
so,
One region takes off faster. Do you have like a regional
so, Greg,
emphasis
just for
that appeared? Yeah.
Yeah, so for context, we didn't build these languages first. We got customers
Yeah.
who told us, "I want it in French," and then you build
Of
it in.
course.
You create a French version, and then someone says, "I need it in Finnish," so you build a Finnish version. Like, because there's no business reason to build a Finnish version,
Of course.
but
Yeah.
but because our system is designed to be able to take language keys, we could have it in 20 more languages in a week if we just had the translations.
Isn't that
So
used to be really hard. You needed
yeah,
funding to put it in 20 languages. Yeah.
yeah, it doesn't.
Interesting.
It probably cost us like a few $100s per language. Like it is
Oh
nothing.
my God.
Right,
That's
right.
mind blowing. I've
Yeah,
been in the software
yeah,
business. It used to cost millions to get there.
yeah,
So
yeah. But we have customers everywhere. We have, funnily enough, we have slightly more revenue in the European Union and the UK combined than we have in the US, which is rare for a
yeah.
software business.
Yeah, that's right.
But that might just have to do with, like, in the early days when I was mostly selling, most of my calendar slots were very Europe friendly.
Yeah.
And if you were in America, you had to do at least back then, you had to
Yes.
do a demo with us
Yeah.
before 11 a.m. or noon
Yes.
Eastern
Yeah.
time. And so we just got fewer customers. And then that ended up building like the whole, like, second order revenue year after year after year. So now
The
we
flywheel.
do yeah.
Yeah.
So in terms of new sales, we probably do the same amount in the US and Europe, but because like the original flywheel was bigger, we're probably almost 50% UK and Europe and maybe only 38% US.
And is
Uh,
this a global industry? There's a lot of industries that aren't
yeah.
really the same in
Yeah.
every country. But if you're in this industry in just about every country in the world, there's recruiting and staffing, and it's about the same mechanics enough that it works the same.
Yeah. So in perm recruitment, the mechanics are completely like very, very similar. So when I say
Okay.
perm recruitment is when you are hiring, when a client comes to you and says, "I want a director of marketing, $200,000 salary, I will pay you a $50,000 fee. Find
Mhm.
me a person." That's basically the same in Brazil as it is in the US, as it is in Germany,
Yeah.
and
Okay.
like
Yeah.
90% of the process is the same. The contract staffing business can be a little different because
I see.
then like there's like in the US it's a W2 or a 1099 or whatever. That those words don't mean anything in Germany, for example.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
have their own words, and that piece gets a little tricky, but like the core recruitment piece is exactly the same across the world.
Do you have functionality that's unique to the region? Meaning, if you're in the U.S., it speaks W-2 and 1099. If you're in France, it speaks their own
No,
mechanics form.
not exactly, because now when
Okay. Yeah.
so even with our very recently launched like timesheet system, we collect time and
Yeah.
you can set up rules to figure out when overtime and stuff triggers. But then once you have that data and you want to put it into payroll, you basically export that out from Recruit CRM to put it into your local payroll system, which then
Right.
does all the classifications and stuff.
Right.
So we don't do that yet. We might do it in a year or so, but like not yet.
Yeah, that's interesting. And you could acquire a payroll system, but maybe the cost of, just as the practical software game now, even with AI, the cost of making it yourself is not as
Very cheap.
substantial. Yeah.
It's very cheap, and sometimes you can just instead of acquiring a payroll provider, you could just partner with a bunch because of the nature
Oh,
of our
right.
business. It's not partner with America, right? We need it
Yeah.
to work in Germany, and we need it to work in France, and in the UK, and in Ireland, and in Japan, and so it's not realistic to, at our scale at least. If we were $1 billion in ARR, like let's say a Rippling or a Deal or something, it
Yes.
makes sense
Yeah.
to buy companies in 80 countries. But at our size, we probably just do a API whitelist type partnership and plug
Yeah.
those products into our system, or just do a
Do you
normal
play the
integration.
partnership marketing game? Meaning those payroll players recommend you right? Because you're
Um,
part of their ecosystem.
so
You're a
so
recommended partner,
So
marketplace partner.
for payroll systems, not as much because we just started that part of our
Okay.
business, which is doing time collection and stuff. But we partner with a lot of companies that are like, let's say, voice over IP systems. So
Ah,
some of our customers might have their own voice over IP system, so they don't use our inbuilt one. But
right.
because the voice over IP system has a deep integration with us, they send customers our way, and so on with like some, let's say, a
Yeah.
website building tool or like other parts of the ATS game, some sourcing tool, and so on and so forth.
So as you got those first customers and said, I think we're onto something very small, you didn't say we were going to be a big global company and we
No,
need the
we
funding
did,
from the, yeah.
we did. So we always said we want to build $1 billion business. We just want to own 100% of it. There's a
Yeah.
difference, right? Because
Ah,
build a big business doesn't mean I need to own 10% of it. You can dream of building a $2 billion company and owning all of it.
yeah.
So the dream from day one has always been we want to build a unicorn. We want to build $1 billion company. We just don't want to raise capital for it, right?
And
So
why is that? Why did you decide
yeah,
that so clearly? What did you know
yes,
between
yes.
you co-founders?
Yes. So and this is going to sound funny and juvenile, but since I was 12 years old, I've always wanted to one day, like the goal was by the time I'm 50 years old, I will become a billionaire, right? And it's stupid, and it's funny, but it is still an aspiration. And with what we know about this space and this industry, and what we already knew in the beginning, the likelihood of us, because of the size of the market and so on, of building a $1 to $2 billion business doing a couple hundred million in revenue and 50-60 million dollars in EBITDA and owning 90% of it is much higher than us owning 20% and having a $10 billion business because of the size of the market, right? So the
And you knew
likelihood to
that
win.
early.
Yeah.
This is the myth of VC
Yeah.
funding here that I've been
Yeah.
waving
Yeah.
my hands about here.
Yeah.
You were very clear about that, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And it is harder in the beginning because you don't have
Yes.
capital and shit's
Yeah.
hard. But I would say my life today and my father's life today is significantly better than the average VC or any VC backed founder who has 10 million in ARR, because we
Right.
own 100% of a company or almost 100% of a company at 10 million in ARR. We'll make 4 million in free cash flow this year. We will pay ourselves most of that tax free.
Yeah.
And the ARR is still growing. It's not like we're exiting.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it'll be 15 million next year and 20 the next, and so on and so
Yeah.
forth. I'm 30 years old. I'm pretty sure if I keep doing this for 10 or 15 years, we can still own 98% of the company and get to 100, 200 million in ARR, and you can still build
Yeah.
a very big business and own all of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. It's just about how fast do you want to get there and what's your approach. But you're
yeah.
right. The odds are amazing. And it's not so crazy. There are plenty of billionaires in Dubai. It's one of the cities of the world
Yes.
where billionaires
Yes.
have
Yes.
real estate
Yes,
and
there
they
are.
hang out. So,
Yeah.
do you know billionaires in your neighborhood on the golf course?
Yes.
Presumably.
Yes.
Yes. Right.
Yes. Yes.
Isn't that interesting? Right. So
Yes.
it's not. It's
Not
not
too
this.
many,
Yeah.
but a few.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
aren't available in that large a quantity either, but there's a few.
Yes. Right.
Uh,
No, they aren't. This is the myth of VC funding. Everybody gets VC funding here in the States, Silicon Valley, that thing. But the number of them that have made $1 billion as founders themselves is really quite small,
it's
right? For
difficult.
all the money and the hundreds of
It-
thousands of companies have been funded, there's probably a lot fewer than 500 founders
Yeah.
ever that have made more than $1 billion. Yeah.
Especially in B2B SaaS. So the thing is, in the B2C space, you still have Airbnb type outcomes that are hundreds of billions of dollars.
Right.
In B2B SaaS, just because of the linear nature of enterprise sales and so on,
Yes.
and the linear nature of the multiples,
And a viewable market. I mean, you could see it's
Yeah.
a $2 billion
Yeah.
market. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a viewable market, and the amounts of capital they consume to pursue those
Yes.
sales cycles
Yes.
and so on. If you have 2 or 3 co-founders, most founders even founder CEOs who tend to own more than other co-founders at IPO own single-digit percentage points of their
That's
company.
right.
So if you want to be
That's
a
right.
billionaire, you got to build a $10+ billion outcome, which is significantly more difficult and rarer than building a $1 billion+ outcome. It's 10x harder, I'd say, right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Because you get limited, right? And it's not as easy to just say, okay, now we'll do 5 other industries. Everyone
Oh, yeah.
can't be you can try to be a Salesforce, And my answer to people who tell me, then why not try to be 10 billion? Maybe we will, and maybe then we'll own 100% of 10 billion.
Yeah.
But the likelihood is just, the odds are just more in your favor when you can own 90 something percent versus 9 something percent
Yeah.
of your business.
Well, thanks for sharing that. It's
Yeah.
and you and your father were wise to see that so clearly in the beginning and make it a foundational part of your strategy.
In the beginning, I'll tell you something fun. We applied to Y Combinator right in the beginning, because while we were thinking about it, we were like, hey, maybe if we get into YC, we can do, because in the beginning you have nothing, right? So it sounds
Yeah, you
great.
don't know. Oh, yeah, right.
You don't know. So you're like, hey, we'll pursue this, but if Y Combinator takes us and then someone throws 3 million at us, we'll take it. They didn't take us. But the point is, while this was always in the back of our mind, because we were such non-traditional founders, vertical SaaS, father and son, father's in his 50s, son's like a 22-year-old, like this is like 9 years ago, doesn't know shit. Like who, and you're in India and you're trying to sell to the West and you've never really sold products to the West. No one wants to bet on you. And we weren't like actively soliciting capital outside of that YC application. And
Yeah.
by the time we got hot enough for people to want to write us a check at $1 million or $2 million in ARR, we just didn't need it.
You didn't need it. Right. That's right. You did the hard stuff. So let's talk about that quickly here, going back. Getting to $1 million or $2 million ARR, where the flywheel's moving in a vertical market here. What was the hardest part? What was it, building product, or was it getting customers, or learning how to build a team and the system for doing all this? Which was hardest?
All of it.
Okay.
So I like saying this, right? Things are a lot easier now. The journey from, like, let's say, it was really easy when we were building the product because nothing's happening.
Mhm.
You don't have any
That's
money, but you're just building. But the moment you got to like 10 to 20 customers and you were like, back then the ACV was a lot lower and you were charging
Yes.
100, 200 bucks.
Yeah.
Getting from, like, let's say $10,000 in ARR to $1 million was torture. Like, that was the worst
Yes.
2 years of my life, right? It took us.
So everything was on fire. Your product was behind, your sales process was behind, you had
your
to prep
servers,
website. Yeah, the whole thing.
I have a page up right now on my screen that says, our uptime the last week is 100% and our uptime the last month is 99.999%. I am sure that if I opened that up, like, the first 6 months, the uptime was like way lower and we'd probably have a server crash twice a week. And like,
Yeah.
you're trying to figure out why it crashed and you don't know
Yeah,
anything
yeah.
about networking and you're trying to go into AWS and like do some server engineering. And so it was hard because there's so many things that are on fire at the same time. You have a pissed off customer, but you need to do a demo at the same time. Someone's written you an email, and you have an early employee who's like, I need to get paid more. And then you also have like, you have your server crashing. It was really, really hard. And then you don't know what you're doing with your ad spend, and you don't have money to like do half the things you want to do. And then you want to hire.
How did you get through that? Was that just the grit of your
just survival?
Entrepreneurs? Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
We can use nice words, but it was just like a desperate need to survive and not die. Right?
Yes.
Like it's basically just that. There's no magic.
And by the way, survival is important. Like, people think of the big dream and everything. No, the first thing is to survive. I just wrote about this on LinkedIn. You got to survive long enough to get up. Right?
Yeah. And the positive was, the one thing that motivated survival was every single month, despite all the pain and everything, MRR would still go up 15%, 16%, 12%.
Yeah.
And in the beginning, much more than that. But like, once you got to, let's say, we went from 100K to like 400K in like 10 months or 11 months, right?
Yeah.
So as you were seeing that, even though the numbers aren't crazy, like, hey, we're getting to the point where we're going to be more alive. Yeah. And then now I feel immortal, right? Like, it's a very different feeling, right? Like, it's like it's going to take a lot to kill us now, right?
Yeah.
But it's very different. You just feel stronger and stronger every day, and it makes life easier.
Okay, well, great. And, it all sounds like sweetness and light to get to, 10 million ARR with profitable growth. And the flywheel is kind of invincible now. You feel like it, but there's new opportunities. Let's switch to the modern era. AI is coming into jobs that your recruiters recruit for. It's coming into recruiting and job management, the AI processing. It's coming into productivity inside your business. It's coming into SaaS. automating customer support and success or sales or the rest. Where are you at with AI? You were the scrappy company that survived, but
Yeah,
is AI
well,
a superpower for you now as a
yeah,
practical founder? What
yes,
would you say about AI and where that's
it is
going?
it is incredible, right? So one's within the business and one's
Yes.
just the industry in general, right? So let me just preface this by saying there's always been technological shifts. Like the railroads
Yeah.
came in, and the people
Yeah.
moving goods on
Mhm.
like probably carts and horses
Yeah.
got
Mhm.
disrupted, and now then you had factories come up because of it. Because now you
Right.
could make products in one location and move them through railroads quickly to
Mhm.
another location. Computers came up, and then so the whole thing about, oh, jobs are all going to vanish and robots are going to do everything and humans aren't going to have anything to do, I don't prescribe to that. Yes, there will be a shakeup, and there
Mhm.
will be a period of time when there are certain people who don't have the skills to do the new age of jobs, but they will be
Right.
reskilled over time.
Yeah.
So overall recruitment, we've seen two things. Certain kinds of jobs have more demand. So for
Uh-huh.
example, your AI engineers, your consulting firms that are doing
You can
prompt and
see that,
cloud,
right?
those
Mhm.
kind of firms are doing fairly well. A lot of industries, there's no impact, like medical recruitment, you still need doctors, nurses. Like
Yeah.
hospitality, you need people, general managers
Yeah.
of hotels. A
Yeah.
lot of those core jobs where you need to use your hands aren't changing. We have customers recruiting HVAC engineers and
Yeah.
all of that.
Yeah.
You still need a CEO to run your business, so executive search and like that's doing fine. I think where you're seeing disruption is in probably entry level white collar roles, right? People
Yeah.
writing articles and so on, where fewer people can create more
Yeah.
content, and that those
Yeah.
jobs are getting sort of reskilled. So in the market in general, as long as there is movement of talent, we don't really care if there's an
Yeah.
increase
Yeah.
in the
Right.
number of net jobs.
Yeah.
As long as people are switching jobs and an
Yeah.
agency is placing them, we're fine,
Uh-huh.
right?
Coming
So
or
that's
going.
still
Yes.
happening. That's
Yep.
still happening because even the companies that are laying off talent are hiring more talent in other divisions, like
Of
Microsoft
course.
in their AI
Didn't
division
stop.
and so on.
That's right.
Yeah, so that's working out. Within our business, we've seen AI make significant strides. So one of the things we prided ourselves on since we started the company was high quality customer support. The moment someone sent us a message, we were able to respond to
Mm,
them in a minute, minute and a half, get on a call with them, help them out, so on.
right.
With AI, we've been able to make that better. So over the last 12 months, we've gone from 0 to now 40% of all conversations being picked up and closed by AI within a minute.
Is that customer support? How do I do this? And where is
Yes,
this? And that kind of
yes,
thing.
yes,
It's
yes.
not your account manager.
Correct. Your
Okay.
chat
Yeah.
support person. Yeah. Your
Right.
customer
Mhm.
success associate. It's a robot doing it, and it's a robot doing it on free text, meaning you're not like choosing an option from a drop. Like they're literally
Yes.
typing their message like they're talking to a human, and the robot is talking back and sharing screenshots and stuff like a human would. So it's a very like
Awesome.
it's a natural process. We think that's going to be like 60, 70, 80% over the next year or two, right? As the tech just gets better, you feed more data into it, you train it better, so on and so forth.
Right. Yep.
We've seen AI play an incredible part in like coding. So like
Ah.
a lot of the new services we're building, 30-40% of those services, especially the backend endpoints and stuff, are written
Yep.
by AI, by either Copilot on GitHub or like by Cursor. Uh,
Yeah.
it's incredible. We're using AI to do a lot of audits. So for example,
Yeah.
whenever you do a customer success call or a sales call, you pump that into AI and it tells you how well that demo happened. And then based on that, you can decide which rep gets more demos. This person is really good at doing enterprise
Yeah.
demo
Look at that.
calls. They need to get more of these. And so it allows you to run your business a lot better if you just
Yeah.
use these basic tools. So that's
Can I
been
ask you
incredible.
there,
Yeah.
Sean, using them basically, you're not just feeding them into ChatGPT generic and getting a generic
No,
thing.
no, no.
You've
You
created
write
a
custom
yeah.
prompts. You write custom prompts, and then you tune the prompts based on the responses you're getting, and then you rerun them to see if you're getting the right response. So
Yes.
you need to actually have like a shit sales demo, a good sales demo, an amazing sales demo, and you need to make sure that when you run it through that prompt, it gives you a 2 on 5, a 3 or 4 on 5, and a 5 on 5.
Yeah.
Until it does that, the prompt's not right, right? Like
Right.
so
Yeah.
yeah, you need to do that, and
Do
then
you have
we
prompt engineers at this phase of AI that are people focused on that, or is that
I
the
we
manager's
don't
job?
Yeah, we don't have a role that is like a prompt
Yeah.
engineer role, but it's like a skill set. So like we pay for people to take like, in their learning and development budget, for
Yeah.
example, classes on prompt engineering and so on.
Okay.
So that's
Okay.
that
Yeah.
counts towards your quarterly learning and development credit. So because we're very a people operations focused company, everyone needs to commit a certain number of hours every quarter to learning and development, and then show
That's
what
right.
they've learned and how they've used it at work and so on. So that
Okay.
yeah,
Very nice.
includes some
And
of this stuff
presumably AI has found its way into your
into a
product. I
product.
see. I
Yes,
see it in the
yes,
headlines on your website, and it's up
yes,
top.
yes,
People want
yes.
AI enabled
Yep.
recruiting software.
So,
Yeah.
some of the basic stuff is like the very, very basic is parsing CVs, right? You can parse a CV in English, German, French. Someone can come to your website, upload a CV, and it just fills the application form, work history, everything for them.
Yeah.
That's the base layer. Then we've recently also worked on, and this is sort of in beta now, not released for everybody, a global AI assistant. So basically, because with MCP, we have a chatbot that basically sits on your entire database, and you can tell it, you can say, hey, can you find me candidates that we previously moved to the interview stage for senior engineering Java type jobs that didn't get placed? Great, you found 20. Can you now assign them into this new job and send them email template for? And then you can just sort of do that.
Oh, that's magical. Do
Yeah, so
stuff in the CRM.
do
Yeah.
stuff in the CRM without a point and click interface, with more like a chat
Okay.
interface,
So,
which is much
that
easier to
is
train on.
using an LLM to
Yeah,
understand the
OpenAI.
query and
OpenAI.
get the data, and
Yes.
it's using
Yes.
agents to do the work, right?
Correct.
Okay. Wow, that's
Correct.
got to be
And
magical. Yeah.
the agents are so basically you have API endpoints already there to do all of these things. You're basically just using you're using OpenAI, the LLM essentially,
Yeah.
or you could use Anthropic or whatever,
Yeah. Yeah.
to basically take the text that someone is writing and convert it into use these API endpoints in this order. Yeah, it's awesome.
That's awesome.
And
I
then
love
we're
it.
using it for search and stuff as well. But the GPT thing is like the big, and I think that's going to be in every CRM system, every ATS system, every system
Have
of
you
record.
demoed yet? Have you demoed that yet? Is that a magical demo kind of thing?
Yeah.
Which is what this?
Yeah. We've shown a part of it where we've shown people how you can like just talk to your database and get information, because especially with larger recruiting businesses, a lot of the owners tend to not use the system day to day. Their team is using it. But you tell them, hey, you don't need to learn how to do all of these clicks to generate the reports and stuff anymore. You just go in and tell it what you want and just pop
Magic.
it on your face. Yeah, it's magic.
Okay.
So
Well, you're a 10 million AI enabled, profitable, growing at a great clip in a established market with superpowers in your team and your performance here. Sean, where do you take this company from here to $1
yes.
billion? Is this
Yeah.
just the climb to 100 million in revenue?
Yeah,
next?
yeah, and then you have pit stops throughout the way, right? So like, right now
Right.
we're 10 million in ARR. I think probably over the next 3 years we'll be at 30 million in ARR, growing at the same rate we are now, and we'll go from 10 million in ARR to 10 million or 12 million in profit. And then hopefully from 30 million we should take another 4-ish years to go from 30 to 100. Give or take. I'm guessing 30, 33, 32% growth. So 7 years from now, 6, 7, 8 years from now, get to 100 million ARR, and then continue growing beyond that, and then decide at some point if it makes sense to keep it private or to go IPO on the NASDAQ for that ego boost, or just be intelligent and stay private and run a privately held company, which is probably the smarter thing to do anyway.
My guess is you'll have the good sense because you've built it with all of this. The good sense in the beginning to generally stay away from that. Do you view that climb as an internal challenge with you and your customers and your employees? It's not you versus Bullhorn or you versus
No, not really.
do it yourself.
It's great as a marketing ploy to say that, hey, we're going to take all of this business from this company, which and we are taking some, and we're taking some business from them, and a lot of our customers currently use that product, so we have to go and say, hey, move to us, we're better rated, better reviewed, same price, blah blah. But the main journey isn't to go kill another company or hurt another company, because we don't care about them and they probably don't care about us. We care about us, right? Like, so we want to build we're already a successful business, but we want to build a world-class successful global business, which is fully family held and family controlled, because that's what's important to us. And essentially change our lives, and we've already done a part of that, and change the lives of the people who have been involved with us in building this business, and help our customers make more money, because all of our customers are agencies that are
Yeah.
doing this business to make
Right.
more money along the way. And I think that would be a great journey, or a great way to spend a few decades of my life.
That's right. There are worse things. And if you sell it, what do? You get lonely in Dubai, right? Play golf?
It'd be very different. I don't, which is the crazy thing, because we live on a golf course because it looks nice. But no, I don't play golf. I play squash, and I basically go to the gym and lift weights. But
Yeah, great.
so I don't want to sell the company. I will not be selling the company
There you
anytime
go.
soon.
Good for
I
you.
cannot think of anything worse than just having a bunch of money sitting in your portfolio, no work to do, and stressing out about the market going up and down a percentage point every day. And that's the
Yeah.
only thing you think about. That's I don't
Which
find
is
that
not under
like,
your control. Yeah.
yeah, not
Right.
aspirational. And as you
That's
can
right.
tell, we're obsessed with control, which is why
Yeah.
we build the company the way we have.
That's amazing. And do you view your company? Do you view Recruit CRM in a better way to ride the AI wave than, say, Bullhorn or your
Yes,
new
of course,
competitors? Or
of
you
course,
feel
of
like
course.
you're in the hot seat?
Yes. So the thing is, because of the nature of our business, which is we're focused on a vertical, we're a relatively small remote team, and we're very profitable.
Yeah.
And we don't have private equity ownership, or
Yeah.
essentially any real board. Uh,
Distractions.
yeah, we're able to take very long-term decisions, because we're not, unlike even other bootstrap founders that are probably building to 5 or 10 or 15 million to exit.
That's correct.
For us, exit is like when I die, right? Like when our dad dies and then I die, like there's no reason to exit. This can keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and let's see
Yeah.
how big it gets, right? And if it stops getting big at some point, whatever, right? It doesn't matter. We're paying ourselves very, very well, millions of dollars every year,
Right.
the whole journey, and that money is in index funds doing fine. So
Yeah.
there's no, because you're able to take long-term decisions, you can go in and say, hey, we believe that, for example, we do believe AI is the next frontier, and a lot of people will start interacting with their system of record, like for our industry,
Mhm.
VR, and go from interacting with it from a click and point interface, like a mouse clicking on buttons and taps, to a chat and voice interface where you talk to your database and it shows you stuff, and then you say, okay, send email, or do this,
Mm.
or reorganize columns, and so on. And we
Mhm.
believe that while it might not replace point and click completely, it'll suddenly go from point and click being 100% of how people interact with their database to point and click being 60% or 70% of how they interact with their database, maybe less. And
Yeah.
because we know that, we're able to invest all these resources into like making that
Right.
happen, versus figuring out what we can build to sell more this quarter or next quarter, because we don't care
Yeah.
about this
Yeah.
quarter or next quarter or next year.
And you get to, let's say, grow at the pace that your industry grows, right? You get to
Yeah.
change their use of AI. Like you look
Yeah.
back 10 years and say, how did this industry change? A
Yeah.
substantial part of that is going to be how you enabled them to change and led them
I,
through it.
Yes, and that's exceptional. But to be honest, at our size, when you are such a small, like, recruitment and staffing perm recruitment as an industry is probably worth tens of billions of dollars, or maybe $100+ billion.
Ah,
And staffing is probably $1 trillion industry, right? Because you're
right,
essentially salary. It's like 1/3 of the population of the planet, in a
right.
sense, that's staffed, and we're software to that industry, which is a subset, or of maybe $2 billion.
Yeah,
But at our size, where you don't even have 1% market share, the industry growing fast is great, or collapsing sucks, but we don't really need the industry to be twice the size or thrice the size for us to be
yeah,
10x. We just need to
yes,
go from,
yeah,
now if you're already at 20 or 30% market share, like some of our competitors, or one or two of
yeah.
our
You are the
competitors are at,
industry, right?
yeah, and then for them it's important for the industry to double in size, for them to double in size, unless like the adoption goes up like crazy. But at our scale, industry growth is great, and we hope for it, and we wish for it, and we'll push towards it. But if you just have the best mousetrap, for the lack of a better word, you can go from
Yeah,
10 to 100. It's not that big a number,
yeah.
in the grand
That's
scheme of
awesome.
things.
I
Yeah,
totally see that. Seems totally doable, right? Which is
it is.
why
It is.
investors probably follow you around and want to buy your company, and you put them
Yeah,
off and never talk to
yeah.
anybody.
And to any investors watching this, we are not for sale. Do not email us. Thank you.
That's a great T-shirt there, right
Yeah.
there. Sean, what advice do you have for practical founders out there? You're doing it your own way in your own
Yes.
industry.
Yes.
clearly. But what advice do you give most often to founders you meet who say, how do I get through that first early stage and get this thing up and running and decide how I want to do it? What advice do
Yeah.
you share most often
Yeah.
with founders?
Yeah. And of course, this advice is based on my personal experience. Everyone has their own financial and like personal situation. Maybe you have kids, maybe you don't have kids, maybe you have some money in the bank, maybe you have none, maybe you have a father who has some money in the banks, like I did. So it's everyone's situation is different. But the one thing that really worked for us was keeping costs extremely low and having over 3 years of capital runway. Right now, we didn't have that wasn't millions of dollars for us. It was
Yeah.
$100,000. We didn't even spend, like I said, we only burnt about 80 before we started. We
Yeah.
flipped from break even. We flipped to break even. But when you have enough time, you can do more things. You can try more things and make it happen. If you only have a year to like succeed, you're screwed. And one way, there's only two levers in time. There is amount of capital and there's amount of spend. Now, most of us only have so much capital, right? Like irrespective of where you might have 50 grand, you might have 100 grand, 300 grand. Now, if you've not saved up anything, then it's very difficult to bootstrap a business and be a practical founder, right? Because it's going to cost something.
Yes.
So you probably should save up that first chunk of money, and then you need to figure out how you can spend the least amount of money to build product. Today with AI, like in when we did this like 8, 9, 10 years ago, the only way to do that was to hire developers in emerging economies where the average compensation levels were 80%, 90% lower. Today, you can probably use AI tools to do the same. You could go to lovable.dev or one of these tools, and you could try to build a prototype, and you can figure out how to prompt engineer that, even if you're not technical. Get a technical co-founder or whatever, and basically build a prototype and get to your first few customers, and then resist the urge to raise capital till you are at $1 million in revenue. And then ask yourself if you need it. Sure, maybe it'll take a year or two extra.
Yeah.
But if you can resist the urge to raise capital till you're at $1 million, where it's super hard and everything sucks, a lot of opportunities open up to you. You probably build a significantly more like efficient business. You know your fundamentals well. And then maybe you realize that, hey, maybe I don't need to raise money, and maybe we go from 1 to 10 and beyond without any money, capital, and then you own all of it. And that's a very different financial outcome.
Very different. Well, that's the practical founder story right there.
Yeah.
I grew up in the era of the 90s and the 2000s where you needed funding for engineers and then funding for go-to-market and then funding for scale and, capital needs and so forth. But you don't need it these days, and it changes everything. And like, it's not quite so obvious how magical it is to get to $10 million ARR and have, as you're valuing it, a 10x kind of value company on revenue. It's probably worth over $100 million to, if you wanted to sell it. You're pricing it that way for your employees, but you've got better DNA and better optionality, right? To do the right things all the way through. And you're having fun with it as you go.
Yep.
Wow. There's the practical founder story right there. That's quite amazing, Sean, to do it with your father in this industry and build a great company and do it for the long term. I really appreciate you being on the Practical Founders podcast and sharing the details.
It was awesome being here, Greg. Thanks for having me.
Great. Thanks for watching this week's interview on the Practical Founders podcast. Be sure to like this episode and subscribe to the Practical Founders YouTube channel to keep up with my weekly in-depth interviews with serious software founders who are building valuable software companies without big funding. You can check out my blog, all the podcast episodes, and information about my Practical Founders CEO peer groups at practicalfounders.com, or message me on LinkedIn if you'd like to connect. See you next week.